What happens when you take Uber and Ola and put them on the blockchain? It gives rise to Drive, an initiative that is set to revolutionize the way ride hailing services work by removing the third party between the driver and the rider. Mudit Marda, who is the co founder and CTO of Drive, is right in the middle of all this action. And I was lucky enough to have him in today's episode of the Mike and Shots podcast. So sit back, relax, and listen to this insightful conversation around the concept of drive, blockchain, entrepreneurship, and the impact of college in Mudit's life. Let's go for it. Hey Mudit, what's up, man? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Divyansh. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great, yeah. So I think this conversation is going to be very interesting because we're going to talk about something which is very different, something which is kind of coming up, your company, your product Drive, which is ride hailing on the blockchain, ride hailing service. And you're going to be competing with the likes of Uber and Ola. That's going to be very interesting. And also the fact that you've been in the Web3 space for a while, the blockchain space, and you have a lot of knowledge on crypto, smart contracts. So we're going to have some conversation around that, and also about your background. You've been to BITS Pilani, right? And that's very interesting, and entrepreneurship as well. So on that note, Mudit, just wanted to ask you, how have been the last couple of years or the last year been for you in terms of work?
In terms of work, okay. So the last year, and the last I think couple of years have been fairly interesting for starters. They've been very mixed. A lot of things have happened. There've been a lot of ups and downs. It's been as if it's been like 5 years in compressed in 1 year. So it's kind of that. It's been very intense. There have been yeah. I mean, I've tried to keep that steadiness and the balance in all the highs and lows, and tried to be not too disturbed. But it has been very interesting, if I may. Yeah, it's been interesting and
Interesting.
hectic, very hectic.
Yeah, because you are operating from Bangalore, right? Your company, and Bangalore has that
Correct.
entrepreneurial vibe, and entrepreneurs are there everywhere across the city. I've been to Bangalore like a couple of times, and I've seen the vibe. I've met founders. So, how do you find the vibe of the place? Like, how is Bangalore as a startup hub? Is it really the case? As in, does it really offer you that kind of vibe?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's not even just startup. I would say the vibe is very like tech startup-y vibe, in the sense कि अगर मैं ये same चीज, if I would have done this in let's say in Delhi NCR, or even in Mumbai, or Pune, or Calcutta, or anywhere, or Hyderabad, it wouldn't have been the same, essentially. Uh, I mean, we get a lot of customers who tell us that, boss, your app alignment is off, your API is not working. I mean,
Oh.
things like that. I cannot imagine that happening in Delhi NCR. I mean, if I
Mm.
were doing this in Delhi NCR, people would probably just be abusing me if things didn't work. But out here, I think people just understand. It's a very technical city as such. So running a technical startup, a tech startup here, that too a deep tech startup, which is like heavy blockchain based, crypto focused. So I think that it makes a lot of difference us being in Bangalore, and Bangalore I think is a good choice we took in terms of piloting. So yeah.
Interesting. I've seen a lot of folks, moving to Bangalore from colleges like BITS and IIT. So you've done your engineering from BITS Pilani as well. I've interacted with folks from BITS, and they're doing like creating crazy stuff on blockchain and entrepreneurship as well. So, is there something about BITS Pilani that stands out? Like, I just want to know about the culture in the college, and how does it impact you, like as a person, and even as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, technologist. Your perspective.
I think a college, the college that you go to makes a lot of difference. It makes a big part of who you are and who you eventually turn out to be. So, so I think for me, Bits Planning has been something which has been pretty close to my heart, and pretty. important in sculpting who I am today. So I think I would give Pilani a lot of credit for that. So I think one of the most important things a college does to you is make you meet a lot of I would say like-minded young people. So it's more about the people than it is about the education and the degree. I mean IITs and BITS and these NITs and these IIMs. Uh, the education that you get there, I mean, is good. I mean, it's cool, but
Yeah.
it's not what the place is about. The place is about the people that you meet there. So I think that's one thing that I've learned, and I've built a lot of connections, a lot of good friends there, which I think have been what has changed a lot of things. Yeah.
I even had this thing in mind because I see a lot of IITs and I'm now seeing a lot of BITSians as well getting into entrepreneurship. Like probably have that network as well. But is there some mindset shift which happens inside that college, inside the environment, which pushes you to do entrepreneurship, or is it something else altogether?
It's definitely one of the things is the network that you could get plugged into, and you see a lot of these high achieving people setting up things of their own. But I mean, I would say um, this at least I speak from the perspective of a Bitsian. You put in this place which is essentially a middle of a desert, like it's a no man's land. There's nothing there. It's nothing. Like it's just absolute nothing. And
Yeah.
you're put there for 4 years with a bunch of random people, and you've got nothing to do. Like so that is, I think, essentially where these ideas and that sort of and you've got a lot of interesting co-curriculars, extracurriculars happening. And in fact, I'm not sure if you know, BITS is one of the only, probably the only colleges in India which does not have an attendance policy. Like we got a 0%
Okay.
attendance policy. So you can essentially skip all classes without having to face any scrutiny for that. Like in
Hmm.
other colleges, you need to maintain some 60%, 70%, 80%, 90% attendance, right? Sure, you've got no such compulsion. Um, you can just skip classes and do what you feel like.
Yeah.
So I think that gives um, a lot of flexibility, a lot of freedom to the students to choose what they want to do, and I think that makes a lot of difference as well. At least for a
Hmm.
for a Bitsian, I would say.
Interesting. And I was going through your LinkedIn profile, and I saw that you've done a lot of projects like while growing up as well, and in your college as well. And that kind of probably shaped you as a technologist because you are the CTO of Drive right now and the co-founder as well. So can you shed some light on the journey you've had like before Drive that pushed you into coming eventually going into this whole new era of Web3 and blockchain and Drive, right? Just shed some light on your journey.
So Web3 blockchain was, I mean, some of it was sparked. I mean, I think the entire Web3 revolution is more than just a couple of years. I think it's a paradigm shift in the philosophy itself. Web3 is more about getting the control of things back into your own hands. So I think I've always, I mean, back ever since I can remember, I've been a slight rebel of sorts. I mean, I've tried to fit in, but I've always felt this slight difficulty with trying to accept things the way they are, and at least the organized, structured, what do you call, organization of uh, culture that we have, right? So I've always been a little counterculture, and I've been always been slightly rebellious to things. And I think Web3 gave me that sort of a vision that everything should not be controlled by those who are powerful or those who are wealthy and those who are those who've got, I mean, yeah, those who are powerful, essentially powerful either by muscle power or by money. So um, that is when I thought that when such people have got when they have power, they tend to exploit uh,
Yeah.
those who don't have such power. Um, and we've seen this with big institutions, with big people, with banks, with governments, with everything. I mean, you know a few governments that oppress a lot of smaller governments. You see a lot of big banks that oppress a lot of companies, a lot of smaller banks, a lot of smaller individuals. So essentially, this might is right is kind of what I thought I always had a problem with. and the power being concentrated in the hands of few who do not utilize it properly. So that is, I think, philosophically what I've always carried. And with the entire Web3 picking up, that that side of me, I think, got evoked. So
Hmm.
I think it was more of a philosophical attraction than a technological attraction to begin with. कि यार ऐसा भी possible है. This sort of a way of life is also possible, right? The entire peer-to-peer sort
Yeah.
of a thing, and yeah, that's how I think and to top it off, I think I got out of college. I started investing in crypto,
Okay.
and I started looking at crypto investments, and then that is where the tech side of me, got got inquisitive. I want to know what powers this crypto that I'm buying, this crypto that I'm transferring for so cheap across, across countries. So that is when I started digging into the underlying tech, the underpinning infrastructure, and I came across blockchain. I started delving into what blockchain is. I started delving into smart contracts, started building a lot of things. And yeah, I mean that time was very ripe. It was back in 2006, 17, I think,
Okay.
17, which was, I think, what, 4 or 5 years from now. Yeah. And things weren't, I mean, blockchain wasn't as hot as it is now. People were just starting to figure out things. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I made a bit of money, I lost a bit of money, but more than that, I understood what is happening under the hood. So I started doing a lot of projects essentially, a lot of individual projects. I started servicing some clients. So I think, yeah, one thing led to another, and that is when Drive happened. Essentially, I met my co-founders on Telegram,
Okay.
which is, I think, uh, a place where the entire crypto scene is happening, Telegram and Discord. So you see a lot of Telegram, a lot of crypto Web3 developers, blockchain developers hanging out in Telegram and Discord. So
Yeah.
that is where I used to sort of hang out, and I found my co-founders looking for a technical guy, for a technical lead to help on the blockchain development, and that is how we
Okay.
connected. I loved the idea, and at that time the idea was at the very infancy. Ki, boss, we need to build a ride-hailing application which is commission free, which does not charge commission, because we think that commission per ride, per driver, per day, like every ride that a driver takes is charged with commission. So we felt that that is not the right way of doing things, and we wanted to turn that around. But just turning that around would not be sufficient, and that is what we had till then. So that is
Hmm.
when I started, plugging in, and we came up with a lot of other major changes, deviations from the regular uh, Ola Uber experience that you have. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, that's it, I suppose.
That's interesting because I have a couple of questions here. So you talked about the fact that you are a rebel since the very beginning, like that's your philosophical side of the world, right? So what kind of change shifted your mindset? Like how did you become a rebel? Is there something that influenced you? Were there some environmental factors or influence from the family? What was it?
I don't know, man. I was never very, I mean, ever since a child, I was never very happy with what we were being taught and how things were running. I mean, as far as I can remember, I was not very
Yeah.
happy with the general way of life. Ki you've got to study, you got to do this, you got to do that, and this is the way of living. This is so. I mean, I always used to question a lot of things, and I always used to. I mean, I don't think it was ever triggered by any major experiences that I had as a child. It was just generally, I think, how I was. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how that was the case, but ever since I remember, I just didn't like very
Yeah.
organized, very big organized things, and
Hmm.
things being imposed on me. Ki ye karna hai, this is the way of
Correct.
life. You have to do this if you want to be happy,
Yeah.
and that's something that I was not very happy about.
And is there any idol you kind of followed? Any particular idol in terms of say a movie star or a sports person that kind of influenced you in a way?
Since, I mean, when I was younger, much younger, I think I used to. I've always been attracted to music, so I've always fancied a few musicians and rock stars and music stars. And but yeah, I mean, I've been I think one of the people that has really put like a strong impression on me has been one of the former Beatles, one of the
Okay,
former Beatle lead guitarist George Harrison. That I think is one of the persons that I
right.
admire a lot. That is kind of, but that's been a recent. I mean, 4 or 5 years that I've been
Yeah.
sort of fairly impressed by his personality, his achievements. Yeah, one of the people that has influenced me a lot.
Very relatable story in terms of being a rebel. So on that note, I think I'll move on to the fact that you did a lot of projects, right, to gain that knowledge in the Web3 and blockchain domain. So one of the questions which I get a lot from say students who are following me on LinkedIn, and I'm in touch with a lot of other folks, how do you crack such projects? Like, what is the way you get into such projects? Is it like cold DMing the founders of such companies, or any platform which you can go to stuff? Can you just shed some light on that?
Yeah, one thing, I mean, not sure if this is going to answer the question, but one thing that I think is very important is that your fundamentals should be very clear. I mean, cold DMs and all is a step beyond that, but I've seen a
Correct.
lot of people cold DMing me and reaching out and trying to do things where their basic fundamentals of what they're trying to do is very off. So, I mean, when that is the case, however you may reach out, however you may be on freelancer, or you may be on Upwork, or you may just be reaching out to people on Twitter, on Instagram, or on LinkedIn, or on Discord, or on Telegram, it's all going to fail because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to pull it off. Yeah. So
Hmm.
I think one of the major things is knowing at least the basics and the fundamentals of things very thoroughly, which I feel is somewhat lacking because, of course, the entire blockchain industry is also new. So, I mean, I'm just going to speak on behalf of blockchain and Web3. So, I think there it's important to sort of know that before you jump in. But yeah, having done that, if you're confident that you're confident about the tech side of things, if you know the basics and if you're good with that, then I think what helped me is to always have faith in the fact that there's a lot of work around here. I mean, uh, blockchain is evolving. There are not as many developers as are needed. So there's a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities that are existing in the space, and just having that faith gives you that assurance that you'll land with something. So I think beyond that, what worked for me like was yes, LinkedIn helped me a lot. I think Telegram, Discord, insane places to be if you want to be in the Web3 space. If you want to get plugged in there, there are a lot of groups which are focused on developing. Another thing that I think helped me a lot were hackathons. I think I participated in a couple of hackathons as well. So if you get into good hackathons, you get to meet a lot of peers who are building similar stuff, who've got similar ideologies, who've got similar skill sets. You get to meet a lot of mentors who can guide you, and of course, you can win a
Yeah.
chance to win money and like a lot of, I would say, recognition. So I think these were the things that worked for me.
Hmm. Interesting, because I just wanted to know how things shape up in terms of projects when it comes to Web3, because I see a lot of folks doing it, but they lack the fundamental, as you just said, right? They're trying to get projects, but yeah, fundamentals are lacking. So yeah, that's the first stepping stone. And from projects, I think I'll jump to the fact that you are the CTO of Drife, and running this cool startup which is kind of has a lot of potential. So, Mudit, tell me, like, how does it feel to be, the CTO of such a, what do you call, very promising kind of a startup, and a promising idea and the product as well. So, and what did it take to reach this level of, the product which it is right now? Like, it's kind of very probably popular among the people who know about Web3 right now, and you may just go beyond such folks. I think that's what you intend to do, reach the layman and every other person, right? So tell me more about Drive, and how did you reach this level, and how does it feel to be the CTO? What is your day to day?
Sure, man. That's a lot of questions. So let me try to take them one by one. But yeah, Drive. I think I mentioned about how it started off. We started off with this one idea of trying to make sure that drivers are not exploited, because they were being, and they still are being exploited by a lot of big giants, right? I mean, they were lured in by a lot of incentives, and once they were hooked into the platform, they're now being exploited majorly. I think we wanted to remove that exploitation which comes in with the centralized control of things, which manifests in the form of commissions. And we realized that the drivers don't actually, they barely make any money, and they barely take any money back home. So it was more of a, I mean, we had some moving conversations with a few drivers, which kind of made us feel that that they're not being treated fairly and justly, which I think was the major motive behind doing this. So yeah, fast forward to, I think, last year we started. I mean, we took us a while to actually build the entire product. I mean, in our heads also. So I think with everything that you ever do, the first thing is it sort of, you conceive it in your head. You sort of
Yeah.
understand the full depths of it, and then only then it sort of manifests in the real world, so to say. So I think it took us a good one and a half, probably even quarter to 2 years to even conceive Drive. I mean, we started off with this idea of no commission ride hailing using blockchain, but blockchain requires you to. I mean, we saw a lot of players in the market back in 2018 and even 19 that that took the Uber model, put it on a blockchain, and hope that it will work. But it didn't, of course, because I mean, what just changing the technology does not make the product different.
Right.
A lot of people have tried to do this with blockchain things.
Okay.
You take any application, take any use case, pick it up, put it on a blockchain, and that's it. I mean,
Mm.
blockchain is not some magic wand that can solve things just by plugging
Yeah.
that in.
Yeah.
Which is something I think all my co-founders, we all recognized well in time,
Okay.
that blockchain is an enabler, but is not
Mhm.
the solution in itself. It's an enabler to a solution, but it is not the solution in itself. Key, if you plug in blockchain, you've got boom, you've got the solution. So that is something we recognized early on, and we were trying to stay away from this whole concept of picking up the same model and plugging that on a blockchain and hoping to make it work. So coming back to where I was, yeah, it took us a good 1.5 1.5 2 years to actually conceive what Drive would be if we were to make it different from Uber. And we've actually created a lot of differentiation now that I mean, in retrospect, which took a lot of time. I think now when I'm at this juncture, if I look back, it makes a lot of sense how we've majorly differentiated Drive from the likes of Uber, Ola, Grab, Lyft, uh, Rapido. I mean, any other product that you take which is doing well in the market. So yeah, I think that was one thing. And how it feels, I think it feels normal, man. I mean, it's not as if we've done a big job as of now. We are doing fine. I think we've got a good number of drivers on board. We're clocking in a few rides uh, across Bangalore. We're just in Bangalore at the moment.
Yeah.
And it just feels good. I mean, we just released a video,
Yeah. I saw that.
a small video, I think, day before yesterday, about how we are
Correct.
changing lives one ride at a time. And that video, I think we called our entire office onto our floor, and we've got about 3 floors. We called everyone on the floor, and we, plugged it into our television, and we showed it to everyone. And the purpose was to make people realize that we're actually trying to solve a problem, and we're trying to impact lives and
Hmm.
trying to improve lives of people that we interact with so frequently but do not care about so much.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of is still the underlying moral, the value of what we're trying to do.
Okay.
So it feels good that ways, but it doesn't feel, I would say, it doesn't feel too special. It just feels very hectic,
Hmm.
and it just feels like you have to do a lot of work. But yeah, that's
Interesting. And whatever I've read about Drive, so you're kind of removing the center party essentially that takes the commission. Like for example, Uber, Ola take a lot of commission. Not sure, like 30-40% they might be taking. Not sure about the real figure. What is
correct.
it? What is the real figure? 30-40%?
That's actually kind of true. It ranges from anywhere between 25 to 45%.
Wow.
And the worst part is it differs per rider, per driver, per destination. So let's say if you want to go to the airport, it could be 40%. But if you want to go
Hmm.
somewhere nearby, it could be probably 25% or
Okay.
30%. So it depends on what the sort of ride is, what time of the day it is. So the commission itself being variable is again a big issue. I mean, if you say flat 10%, flat 20%, flat 30%, it's still fine. But you not knowing, I mean, imagine this year, these are all independent contractors, right? The drivers are
Yeah.
all independent contractors. They don't, they're not employees of these companies, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, who are independent contractors? The guys who come and, let's say who build your houses, who paint your houses, who do all
Correct.
these sort of, contractual chores, or maybe let's say a freelancer, right? So whenever you engage with such independent contractors, you always quantify, you always figure out the quantum of work and figure out the the appropriate compensation for the same, right? And
Hmm.
even if there is a middleman, all the terms are well established before the contract actually proceeds. But in the case of a ride hailing sector, that doesn't happen. you
Hmm.
don't know you don't know what sort of a commission is going to be levied, how much fare you're going to actually get. So things like that are actually completely black boxed, they're completely hidden, which we think is again incorrect. We think there
Hmm.
needs to be some transparency which a blockchain with smart contracts could bring in.
Got it. Got it. So I think, yeah, that's my question was that why did you even consider blockchain and smart contracts for this whole concept? Because I know it's a little technical for us to understand, but there might be some precedence to it. And, why did you choose blockchain? And is there a possibility of having such an idea without blockchain and without smart contracts? Is there a possibility of having such an idea?
Yeah. So actually, before answering that, I'll tell you how our app works. That'll help you get a better sense of why blockchain. So our app basically does away with the entire platform dictated pricing model. We've decided that we do not dictate the prices as a platform. I mean, we do not tell you that currently we are on 1.8x surge or a 1.5x surge, and you need to pay so much if you want to take a ride. If you do not want to pay that, wait for the search to get over, or I don't know, take public transport or take the other ride hailing service. So so we didn't want to go that route, and we wanted to let the market dictate the price instead of the platform dictating the price. So what we did was we came up with what is now a patent pending negotiation model of sorts, and it's actually technically a bi-directional auction, which is very simple. I mean, it might sound complicated, but it's very simple. It's like, as a user, you can provide an incentive while booking a ride. So you can. This is technically, I mean, in the app we call it boost. So you can boost your ride,
Okay.
and the more you boost is just like a percentage that you increase from the base fare.
Hmm.
And the base fare is calculated very transparently. It's calculated using the government figures. So let's say the government, the RTO specifies a distance multiplier, like per kilometer, what is the charge, per wait time of 1 minute, what is the charge, per 1 minute of travel time, what is the charge, what is the multiplier, what is the minimum fare that you start off with, what is the minimum 3-4 kilometer distance that you have to pay for. Things like that are
Got it.
specified by the government of different areas. They could be state government, they could be uh, like municipality governments, or they could just be national laws that dictate this in different
Okay.
parts of the world. So we just take these numbers and calculate a base fare based on the expected distance and time that we get from mapping services,
Yeah.
right? Once you get that, you can, as a user, decide to boost that number by however much you want. And
Okay.
boosting simply means increasing it however much you want. So you can increase it by 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, all the way up to 100%. And shoot that ride request. The more you boost a ride, the more your chances are of getting a ride, essentially. Two ways how that happens. One is, of course, you increase the money, so the likelihood of a driver picking that up is higher by default. Second is, the more you boost, the farther away we start sending that. So let's say if you requested a ride with zero boost, we send it to, let's say, the nearby 5-10 drivers within a
Oh,
radius
okay.
of
Got it.
2 kilometers. But the more you boost it, your search area increases,
Got it.
and therefore more drivers come in. And since you've increased your fare, drivers who were far off can now become incentivized to come and pick you up,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Because they're being paid
Paid
extra,
more.
so
Yeah.
they get incentivized. Yeah, so they get incentivized to come and pick you up from farther away when you're not getting a ride nearby, right? So that's kind of how this model works. So we send a request with a boost. It goes to the drivers. The drivers have an option to counter quote on it. So
Got it.
let's say you say it's 100 rupees ride. I want to go for 120 rupees. Some driver can come and say, all right, I'm willing to go for 120 rupees. Someone can come and say, I would like 130 bucks.
Yeah.
But someone can come and say, okay, I have not got a ride since the past 3 hours. Let me take you for 110 bucks. I'll give
Okay.
you a 10 rupees discount on what you've proposed, right?
Hmm.
So all of these drivers, when they counter quote, we put that in a list and we show it to the rider.
Okay.
The cool part is this: the rider, the passenger, can actually choose which driver to go with, right? And here's the fun part: this choice is not with you when you're riding with the traditional ride-hailing
Yeah.
companies. You don't have
Yeah.
this choice.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't get to decide who you go with. It's a ride that is matched to you by the platform itself, right?
Yeah.
So here, what happens is you can choose whether you want the nearest driver, or you want the highest rated driver,
Got it.
or you want the cheapest driver. I
Yeah.
mean, it depends on what you want at different times of the day. Different, time, place, circumstance can determine what you're looking for. So you can optimize whichever parameter you want and choose the driver accordingly, and that's it. You get
Interesting.
connected. Correct. So now that you understand how the app works, let's figure out why blockchain. Okay. So, I mean, we could do this without blockchain. All of this could work, but
Right.
how would you guarantee that we, as the platform, are not manipulating things? So, let's say if someone is putting a counter quote of 110 rupees, what stops us from blocking that and giving a preference to a driver that is counter coding is coding 120 rupees, so
Hmm.
that I make more commissions, or I make
Right.
more profit? I
Okay.
might just throttle some drivers' requests. I might throttle some. I might delay some drivers' requests. I might
Hmm.
manipulate someone's numbers, right?
Right.
So all of that transparency, that trust is removed if you
Hmm.
remove a blockchain. With a blockchain, what happens is all of the peers, all of the drivers and passengers can directly talk to the chain, right?
Okay.
With us just being an interface. So
Hmm.
that ways, any ride request that you put in, any boost that you add, any counter that code that you make stays on the chain. It is completely verifiable. It is
Okay.
there for anybody to validate that you actually made that quote and you've got the ride. So that's kind of the idea behind this.
That's interesting. And when you say on chain, it means that you have essentially a blockchain network and you put that data on the blockchain network, and nodes will verify if that data is correct or not, right? Whenever change happening.
Yes. So, I mean, not just nodes, we run it through some smart contracts. So, there are certain
Right.
rules that have been written in smart contracts. Like, for example, you requested a ride, okay, and there are some three drivers that have been selected to counter quote. I, who is not one of the three drivers, should not be able to counter quote. So, if I want to say that, I'm going to give you that ride for 10% discount, it is of no value, right? So
Yeah.
those are some rules that you put in the contracts to check that you're not allowed to write, counter code for this, or you cannot quote for more than 100%. So things like these checks have been put in there, and these
Got it.
also get, so your anything that you do gets validated by these, gets
Got it.
adjusted, and then it gets recorded.
And this is interesting because I want to know, how do you guys probably earn through this product? Because if you have started this, there might be,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
How do
yeah,
you
yeah.
guys earn through this then?
So how we make money is through a subscription model. So it's like any subscription that you use, Netflix or whatever. So basically, we charge the drivers a daily subscription, daily, weekly, monthly, depending on what their capacity of paying is. Of course, monthly is cheaper than daily, but so like essentially they pay us an upfront 100 or 150 bucks. Of course, this has not been rolled out. We are still rolling out our services for free, but eventually we'll charge an X amount per day, which you either pay upfront or gets adjusted on your rides, right?
Okay.
And after that, any number of rides you take are free. There's no commission that's being charged, so we make money from the subscription. Initially, the subscriptions are only for drivers, but eventually we foresee a set of premium features that we could roll out for passengers also, which could come under a subscription plan. For example, if you want guaranteed rides, right? If you want to ride in like a minute, a ride booked in 1 minute. So things like that are premium features for which we could have a
Got it.
subscription plan for even the passengers. So that's kind of our revenue model.
Interesting. And I just wanted to understand one more thing, that you have competition already in the market. Like they have Uber, you have Ola in Bangalore as well, and which is pretty strong. And other smaller companies which are doing ride hailing, Rapido, etc. And they have a fair share of the market, and people are aware of these, companies and these products. They're very popular in tier one cities, and probably they're going into tier two as well. How do you plan to kind of dethrone them? Because you need to educate the riders, educate the drivers as well for this. So, what's your plan on this? How do you plan to actually compete with these giants?
So a lot of it is marketing. A lot of it is is reaching out to the audience. A lot of it is ops. A lot of it is marketing. Without going into too much of ops and marketing and the strategies and schemes there, because I'm not a marketing or a ops fellow myself. But I mean, the only thing I can tell you is there's a lot of it's a lot of marketing game that is involved there, and you need to have it right for you to connect to a wider audience. So as of now, we're focusing on the digital marketing, like social media marketing, and
Yeah,
that's working out well for us because we do not have the kind of funds to have billboards
got it.
across the streets and things like that. So I think that's fine because Bangalore, the crowd is very active on social media. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's better to promote your app on Instagram than it is on a billboard in
yeah,
Church Street. I think so.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So beyond that, I think, sorry, I think you're saying something, but yeah, beyond that, what has helped us is a feature which is called, I mean, which is our referral model. So our referral model has let us organically scale up very fast, very quickly. Because so how our referral model works is if you refer anyone in the platform, you make 1% of their fares till eternity.
Okay.
So every ride they do,
Okay.
you get 1% as a referrer. So imagine if you help a driver onboard on the platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
You make, like, if the driver makes 5,000 bucks a day, you make 50 rupees a day. And if you onboard 10 such drivers on the platform, you make 500 a day without doing anything. Like, it's all passive income.
Right. Yeah.
So that has caught like wildfire,
It's a
and a lot of
network
people
effect.
are
Yeah.
actually, yeah. So that network effect is, and this is enabled because we've got a peer-to-peer network. So again, blockchain kicks in here. A lot of crypto economics comes in here, and this helps us scale the downloads organically very high. That's another thing.
And tell me one more thing, because this is based on blockchain smart contracts. I've also seen your token, which you launched, which is, I think, the DRF token. Where does this fit into
Correct.
the picture, the DRF token? And, I first you shed light on this, and then I'll probably ask more about crypto from you.
Sure. So the DRF token is I would say quintessential. It's very important for our application. As of now, we've not integrated DRF very tightly into the application because of us being in India and the regulations still not being very clear about crypto and things like that. But yeah, I mean, DRF is the underpinning currency of the entire platform. Eventually, we foresee the rights being paid off in DRF, right?
Okay.
But that's not in India as of now, at least. But eventually, I hope that is the case in India as well. We have plans to do this in a few other countries, like Dubai, for example, which is
Yeah.
more crypto friendly than
Hmm.
India. So that is one of the utilities. But one of the major use cases of DRF is our franchisee model. So another interesting thing about us is we operate in a franchisee model. We do
Hmm.
not set up operations in different parts of the world ourselves or different parts of the country ourselves, like how Uber or Grab or Ola or Lyft or even Rapido does, right? So we franchise out our operations and we provide the tech. To get hold of any franchisee, you need what we call as an FNFT. which is a franchisee NFT. We again use NFT tech here.
Yeah.
This is one of the one of the very unique use cases of NFTs. Generally, when you talk of NFTs, you see JPEGs and audios and all of that stuff. But
Yeah.
we've tried to use NFTs for the use case of franchising. So every city, every state is converted into an NFT, and by acquiring that NFT, you get the rights to run operations in that particular city on behalf of Drive. And
Okay.
using that NFT, you can configure different parts of the smart contracts, and you can
Okay.
configure the entire application. So basically, this NFT is acquired using some sort of auctions wherein the DRF token comes in. So the more you stake, the more your likelihood of getting a franchisee is. So
Oh,
you use the tokens to get hold of certain areas of operations, basically,
got it.
and
Okay.
whoever holds tokens gets a share of revenue. So, for example, if you've got some tokens but you do not actually want to run operations in, let's say, Delhi,
Mm-hmm.
what you can do is you can delegate your tokens to someone who wants to contend for the franchisee. If
Right.
they win, your token gets locked with them, right? And let's say if you've given them 1% of the total locked tokens, they give you 1% or whatever, 0.5%, depending on what agreement you've got in. They give you a share of the revenues or the profits they make. So that's kind of
Okay.
where the
Okay.
tokens come in. And there are
Wow.
other interesting things about the token. We plan to sort of give out tokens per ride. So every time you take a ride, you get some tokens, and the drivers can use those tokens for leveraging micro loans, things like that. So
Okay.
as a driver, you can take those tokens, you can again lock it, or you can spend those tokens to get loans, things like that. So there are other such plans also in the roadmap.
Got it. Got it. So, a natural question arises is about the crypto market, the crypto side of the things, right? So currently, I think the people have lost trust in crypto, like the laymen who had invested in the crypto tokens like blockchain, Bitcoin, and Ethereum and stuff. And probably the confidence a little lower right now because of other macroeconomic conditions, right? So, does that also impact you in some way? And also the fact that from your perspective, where is the crypto market right now, and how will you as a company try and gain more trust of the people to actually undertake or download your product and start using it? What do you think about?
Um, yeah, I think the sentiment is not the best at the moment, that's for sure. And what works in our benefit is that we are not seen as a crypto company per se. Like we are seen as a taxi company, which is a deep tech company which uses blockchain. I mean, we the most extreme you could see us in general is a blockchain company that does taxi operations, right?
Right.
But very few people see us as a crypto company. So I think that ways we've not been subjected to a lot of inconvenience, and I think we've been fine, both from the user's perspective, from the driver's perspective, from the community perspective, and the government perspective. I think we've been fairly safe there because we do not actually in India deal with a lot of crypto. We've kept the crypto thing aside in India when we operate. That being
Okay.
said, I think in general, again, it's more about the generic. I mean, this could go on for a long time if I start delving into this, but it's more about again, it comes down to that side where what you think is right. Do you think the government controlling the currency
Hmm.
or the banks controlling the currency? Do
Yeah.
you think that is right, or do you think a freely controlled currency is right? So I think it ultimately comes down to that, and whoever has faith on that will continue to hold, and eventually, hopefully, markets will correct themselves. They'll become more favorable, and the bulls will be back. So yeah, let's see.
I think I should ask a personal question. Have you invested like too much money in crypto, or uh,
Not really. I've got a bit of my investments in crypto for sure, but not a lot. I would say um, I think ever since Drive happened, there's no time to sort of look at investments, to look to track investments, to invest at all as such. So
yeah.
it's more about investing time, money, and consciousness in Drive more than anything. So I would say that as such, I had investments long ago when I was much younger, but but I think now the investments have kind of taken a backseat. I've not even looked at my portfolio, and so
Hmm.
yeah, not a lot, man.
Interesting
I
because
wish I
yeah.
had though. I wish I had though, but yeah.
Interesting. And from that, I want to also understand that, Web3 is a kind of democratized technology in a way across the globe. It's not like the US is the only hub right now. Other countries like Dubai as a city has picked up, and UAE has picked up in Web3.
I think we are doing great, man.
Yeah, even
As a
India.
country, I
That's
mean,
the question.
in terms of the tech, yeah, go for it. Let's
No,
hear the question.
same question. That what do you think about India? Because I see a lot of talent here and a lot of companies like Drive, yours, and building up.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I think we're doing great as a company in terms of building things, man. We're doing fabulous in terms of producing talent that can build stuff, that can conceive stuff, that can work with this entire philosophy. I think, and we've got projects like Polygon. We've got projects like I don't know, like Persistence. We've got projects like a lot of projects that are doing wonderful out of India, right? Like Economy, we've got a lot of good projects coming out from India, and I'm not sure if Drive is again fit to be in that category. I hope it is, but the the only thing that I think could hold us back is unfavorable government policies. Because, I mean, even if you put policies, this is something that you cannot really stop
Yeah.
as such. At least that's what I believe. So it makes most sense to understand the technology, to live with it, and to sort of let it bloom in a way that it becomes it is a positive growth rather than
Yeah.
suppressing it so that it grows negatively, because it'll grow
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be there. So it's in the hands of the governments to either uh, let it grow nicely while keeping some checks and balances in place, weeding out the wrongs, or otherwise completely try to suppress it, and then it booms one day with
Hmm.
a lot of things that you did not want to have. So I think that's kind of a choice that's there
Yeah.
with the big guys.
Even I'm very bullish on Web3 and the talent that we have in the country. At the same time, coming back to Drive, because you are a growing company and you have people in your company as well, right? So how big are you right now? And probably you're growing as well.
Yeah, we've got about 65 to 70 people right now. So yeah, and that's grown massively in the last 4 or 5 years. I think we've kind of doubled, if not tripled, since
Yeah.
the last 3 months. So we're scaling up like anything, and yeah, I mean, the number of drivers that we got on board have reached about, I think, 20,000, of which about 8,000 drivers are active on the platform, and we've got about 100,000 users signed up onto the platform, clocking about 6,000, 7,000 rides a week. So
Whoa.
I think we've got a good bit of things going around here. So as we scale up, things will only increase, hopefully.
And when you say 100,000, it's only Bangalore or is it any other city as well?
Just Bangalore, man. We just live
Wow.
in Bangalore, so all of this is in Bangalore.
Probably you'll come to Delhi soon then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The plan is to either get into Delhi NCR or Mumbai. I think we've got Hyderabad also lined up.
Okay.
But yeah, Delhi NCR or Mumbai is kind of what we are discussing internally about where to go next.
Awesome, awesome, man. I think that's all I had in terms of questions, and I think you shed light on entrepreneurship, your journey, BITS Pilani, Web3 Drive, and I think we've touched upon a lot in this episode as well for the podcast and the conversation we've had. And probably I think I'll wish you all the best for Drive. I think the product looks amazing. I have it with me as well, and I'm just waiting to try it out soon and give you some feedback as well. And uh, till the time we meet sometime, like I'll come to Bangalore and let's say we'll meet up as well and we'll have some fun together. On that note,
Absolutely, man.
yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Mudit. Thank you, Mudit, for this, and really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for this.
Likewise. Thanks a lot, Divyansh. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.